Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial. Today's tutorial I'm going to talk about the Spring MVC framework. So we already know what a framework is, how it works and what it does, and what are the characteristics of the framework. Now the Spring framework provides a facility or provides an architecture or a mechanism that supports the model view controller architecture. We know that MVC stands for the model, the view, and the controller, where the model is a Java object, the view is the UI component, which can be the JSP pages, and the controller can be Java classes that do some specific tasks. At the core of the MVC framework, or at the core of the Spring MVC framework, we have a servlet that is called the dispatcher servlet. So what it does, the dispatcher servlet is working as a front controller, and then it processes the requests and response, okay, and directs the traffic based on the request to the different controllers. Now, part of the Spring MVC framework is just like any other MVC framework that we have a loosely coupled web application, and that means that we have a UI logic and the business logic, which can be totally separated. And the benefit of this framework is that we can easily maintain our application, or we can extend our application according to the need. So now let's focus on to the dispatcher servlet and the front controller thing. So if we go to the next slide, we can see that this is the picture of the dispatcher servlet. The whole thing is running within a Tomcat engine, or you can say like the Tomcat web server. And you can see that at the left side there is an incoming request, and the request is being handled by the front controller. And in this case, the front controller is the dispatcher servlet. It then forwards the request to a controller depending on the request, and then the controller puts the UI information and the model in it, and then sends it back to the front controller, and then the front controller renders the information to the JSP page which we can see in the browser. So let's take an example. So let's say that we have a web application and we are going to type like this: http localhost 8080 and then slash. So that means whenever we're typing this, we are typing at the root. Okay, we're typing at the root. Now, whenever we are typing at the root, we are expecting a page that is the login.jsp page, and this login.jsp page will be coming from login controller.java file. Okay. Now, when I am typing this whole thing in a browser, let's say I'm making a GET request. Okay. And within the GET request, when it is submitted, it goes to the dispatcher servlet. Okay. It comes to the dispatcher servlet. And we do not need to worry about it because this dispatcher servlet is being provided by the Spring framework. Okay, so I can say that Spring framework takes control. Okay, so then the request comes over here in the dispatcher servlet. Then the dispatcher servlet knows the controller. Okay, so it knows that which controller it is asked for, and then it goes to the login controller.java file. The login controller then does what? The login controller then puts the view. Okay, so they have a view handler. Okay, so the login controller knows that what the view is, and then it puts another stuff that is the model. Okay, and then it creates a model and view object. Okay, So that means in the model and view object, we have the view information and the model information. Then it's sent back to the controller. I mean, it comes over here in the front controller, and then front controller knows that which JSP page the request needs to send to, and then it finds out the login.jsp template. Okay, and it renders the information to the login.jsp page, and then it comes back to the user as a response. Okay, so we send a get request and we are getting back the response. And again, the whole thing, the management is being done by the dispatcher servlet, which is the front controller. And as a programmer, our job is to write this login controller, and we need to write this login.jsp page. And then in this login controller, we need to just put some information, which is the mapping information. So we'll be talking about this, how to put the mapping information within the controller, but just this tutorial is to show you that what the dispatcher servlet does, and to have an overview of how the Spring MVC framework does. And it's the framework's task through the dispatcher servlet to manage many of the stuff. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.